Formerly, Tom Cruise was the golden boy of Hollywood. Perfect life, flawless face, and flawless grin. But then things began to shift. Fans noted that his face appeared bloated and swelled during a Super Bowl commercial in February 2025. In a movie trailer a few minutes prior, he appeared normal. His jawline appeared to have been completely altered by too much fillers, according to a plastic surgeon. A cruel comparison was then made in July by a British host. He remarked that Tom's face now resembled Play-Doh. The question now is, what became of the man who captured the hearts of millions? On July 3, 1962, in Syracuse, New York, Tom Cruise was born. But dread and continual change were part of his life from the start. Thomas Mapother III was an electrical engineer and his father had a horrible temper. He frequently lost control of his wrath without cause. He was previously referred to by Tom as a merchant of chaos. He was abusive, it wasn't just yelling. They also seldom spent much time in one location. Tom had already attended 15 different schools by the time he was 14. He was in Canada 1 month and Kentucky or New Jersey the next. He was forced to leave every time he made a friend. A life like that made him tense all the time. Although he never felt secure, it helped him learn how to quickly adjust, which would be useful in Hollywood. His teachers saw that he was struggling with reading in 1969, when he was just 7 years old. He was intelligent, they said, but something wasn't quite right. He was diagnosed with severe dyslexia after a battery of testing. Letters didn't just sit on the page for Tom. They were erratic and inconsistent. His classmates called him derogatory names. There were teachers who became irritated with him. However, Tom didn't give up and instead sought another route. He began to learn by listening. He would repeatedly have people read screenplays to him. That's how he committed every phrase to memory. Not only his lines, but those of all the others. One of his greatest assets was born out of what began as a terrible fight. At the age of 12, Tom's mother, Mary Lee, took a courageous decision in 1974. She left her violent spouse. After packing up the children, she left with nearly nothing. All of a sudden, she was a single mother with little money and no job skills, parenting 4 kids. She never stopped working, cleaning houses, working as a waitress, and doing anything else she could. She worked 16 hours a day at times. In search of lower rent, they relocated frequently. Tom felt compelled to assist his mother after witnessing her struggles. He would do anything for a few bucks, including delivering newspapers and mowing lawns. His mother benefited from every dime. He learned the importance of hard work at that period and realized how much he wanted to be in charge of his own destiny. When he was 14 years old in 1976, an unexpected event occurred. Tom expressed to his family his desire to become a priest. He went to Ohio to attend a Catholic seminary and adhered to the rigid timetable. Religious rites, early morning prayers, and Latin classes. Teachers thought he was dedicated and serious. But it was short-lived. A group of boys, including Tom, broke into the wine cellar one evening and consumed the communion wine. They were apprehended, and Tom was dismissed. After the event, he claimed to have realized he wasn't destined for that life. The regulations were not intended for him. He was supposed to perform. In 1978, things began to calm down for Tom. Jack South, a paint merchant, was his mother's spouse and showed Tom kindness. Glen Ridge, New Jersey, is where they now reside. This was the first time that Tom had a stable home, a stable school, and someone to lean on. A knee injury put a stop to his dream of joining the wrestling team. His drama instructor asked him to try out for the school play one day. Tom was cast as the main character in Guys and Dolls. All of a sudden, something clicked. It made him feel alive on stage. He threw himself into it, learning everyone's lines by heart, not just his. He was adored by the crowd. After that, he performed in several performances and took home the drama award from the school. Everything was different after those 18 months in New Jersey. Acting wasn't merely a pastime. His new dream was born. Just before he graduated from high school in 1980, Tom made a choice that terrified his entire family. He left school to pursue acting in New York City. He had a bag of clothes and only $500. He received an apartment in Hell's Kitchen that was rat-infested and remained in a budget hostel close to Times Square. To make ends meet, he worked as a busboy and paid $230 in rent. He lost 20 pounds in the first 3 months by eating quick noodles and cheap pizza. He tried out for a soap opera but was turned down because he was too dramatic. That remark really got to him. Changing his name from Thomas Mapother Ford to Tom Cruise was an attempt to make it sound more powerful and distinctive. In 1981, he landed his first movie part. It only lasted a few seconds in the film Endless Love. In one instance, he ignited a fire, received $500, and was done. But there was a noticeable quality to his intensity. People took notice of him. In that scenario, the fire he stoked was not limited to the screen. It marked the start of something enormous. He went to an audition for The Outsiders in 1983. He stopped during the audition to say, "This isn't working for me," while he was trying out for the role of Soda Pop. Everyone, even Rob Lowe, was taken aback. That moment, however, demonstrated Tom's awareness of his own limitations. He chose to play a reduced role rather than press the issue. And he was made even more noticeable by that minor role. In the same year, Risky Business was released. It made almost $63 million on a modest $6.2 million budget. His renowned underwear dance made him a household name. Critics praised it. Additionally, Tom was nominated for his first Golden Globe. He took all the appropriate actions that same year. Filmed in Pennsylvania's bitter cold. Despite being pushed to the limit by the severe weather, he didn't voice any complaints. He devoted himself fully to the part, demonstrating his willingness to endure hardship in order to be honest. His own stunts would subsequently make him renowned because of that mindset. He played a part in Ridley Scott's 1985 film Legend. Despite not wearing bulky prosthetics, Tom underwent a rigorous makeup procedure. He was part of a team that was working on the biggest makeup job at the time. In one instance, his co-star Tim Curry hurt himself when he tore off his own prosthetics out of fury. Tom learned from this how difficult such productions could be, and he was prepared for it. Then followed the 1986 film The Color of Money, in which Tom collaborated with Paul Newman and directed by Martin Scorsese. Tom worked hard to make it look natural while playing the role of a teenage pool hustler. Although Cruise proved he could compete with the greats, Newman took home an Oscar. In the same year, Top Gun became viral. While flying an actual F-14 aircraft, Tom reached 800 millimeters in speed and encountered G-force blackouts. After completing more than 40 hours of flight time, the Navy even modified its regulations to accommodate him. Tom Cruise became a household name thanks to the $356 million movie. He earned $2 million each picture, making him the most paid actor under 25. He starred in the $171 million film Cocktail in 1988. During his months-long training, Tom smashed 47 bottles while learning genuine bartending techniques. Rain Man debuted that same year. When Tom discovered his real father had left him when he was 12, he created a pivotal scene. The movie won 4 Oscars, and Dustin Hoffman was astounded by his performance. To receive a portion of the profits, Tom accepted a bargain. He earned $15 million in the end. Tom pushed himself even harder in 1989, the year of his 4th of July birth. He spent months in a wheelchair, shed 35 pounds, and spoke with other Vietnam veterans to learn about their suffering. While filming, he even cut his hand and continued to perform with actual blood on display. $3 million of his pay went to veteran organizations. In the same year, he and Paula Wagner launched their own production firm. After making a $2 million investment, he started making Days of Thunder. He selected actors, revised screenplays, and advocated for practical effects, even investing millions of dollars to capture actual NASCAR collisions. His company closed deals with studios worth $50 million in a single year. However, Born on the 4th of July also sparked criticism. Due to Cruise's lack of military service, several veterans objected to the movie. Others even hurled things at the set. Death threats were sent to Cruise. He remained dedicated despite the high level of strain. The $161 million movie changed the public's perception of Vietnam veterans. A $500,000 scholarship fund for injured veterans was eventually established by Cruise. It wasn't only Days of Thunder when Tom Cruise pretended to be a race car driver. He really did become one. In 1990, he trained with actual NASCAR drivers, climbed behind the wheel, and raced at speeds exceeding 180 miles per hour while filming. To help him remember his lines in one scene, he had cue cards posted to the glass. As a result, he crashed the vehicle. Learning to drive 700 horsepower stock cars on renowned courses like Daytona and Charlotte was something he forced himself to do. On set that same year, he got to know Nicole Kidman. Her role in the movie was that of a doctor. On Christmas Eve of 1990, they were married after falling in love during the filming process. Only a few months after they wrapped up filming, took up the role of a military lawyer in A Few Good Men 2 years later. The scene in the courtroom where Jack Nicholson yells, "You can't handle the truth," was difficult to film. The director shot it 95 times. "Did you order the code red?" was one of the tough inquiries Cruise had to repeatedly ask. Until it all seemed genuine. The movie was quite popular. That one sequence earned almost $236 million and went on to become a legend. The fact that Cruise was portraying Lestat when Interview with the Vampire was released in 1994 astonished many. At first, the author of the book said he could never be her Lestat and detested the concept. Cruise, however, didn't hold back. For months, he practiced his predatory movements. During filming, they even bit live rats. For realism, they also employed mechanical rats with concealed tubes. The entire film was primarily filmed at night and required extensive makeup and costume work. The author eventually had second thoughts and concluded that Cruise's performance was courageous and strong. Cruise's 1996 film Mission permanently altered the genre of action films. Inconceivable. He wouldn't pretend to do the stunts. In one of the more outrageous scenes, he was hanging from the side of a train that was traveling at 70 miles per hour through the Channel Tunnel. In fact, he was there. No duplicate. Not a trick. For the well-known vault scene, he also dangled from wires, and he completed it all in a single take that lasted more than 6 minutes. Although the film cost $80 million, the majority of that money was spent on actual stunts rather than computer effects. In Jerry Maguire, he displayed a different side that same year. He took home the Best Actor Golden Globe in early 1997. "Show me the money," the well-known line, wasn't even in the original script. It was Cruise's idea to shout it repeatedly, and it quickly became a catchphrase in America. Eyes Wide Shut was filmed by Cruise and filmmaker Stanley Kubrick for 15 consecutive months, from late 1996 to mid-1998. It ended up being the longest filming session ever. One basic scene was filmed 95 times by Kubrick. Cruise didn't inform anyone about his ulcer since he didn't want to slow things down after being so anxious. Cruise and Nicole Kidman filmed intensely emotional scenes for the film, pushing them both to the limit. Kubrick passed just 6 days after the filming was completed. It became his last farewell to the world. Went even farther with Mission Impossible 2 in 2000. He engaged in perilous rock climbing on a 2,000-foot Utah cliff. In one section, he repeatedly leaped 15 feet down onto a hard rock until it appeared exactly right. A helicopter approached so closely that his head was almost struck by the spinning blades. Cruise insisted on preserving the setting even though the crew had to occasionally halt filming due to heavy winds. Cruise entered a new realm in 2001 while seeing Vanilla Sky. He called Cameron Crowe, the filmmaker, to urge him to view the Spanish film that was being remade. In fact, he managed to get Penelope Cruz to reprise her part from the original. Following his character's vehicle accident, Cruz donned facial prosthetics for the sequences. Although not everyone liked the film initially, it eventually developed a cult following and earned over $200 million. The Final Samurai trained for about 2 years in 2003. He studied martial arts, Japanese language, and sword fighting. He collaborated closely with a sword master and performed the majority of the battle scenes on horseback personally. One actual French commander who fought alongside the samurai in the 1800s served as the inspiration for the novel. The film became 2003's sixth biggest hit, making $456 million. Cruise received a Golden Globe nomination as well. Cruise portrayed a cool-headed murderer named Vincent in the 2004 film Collateral. He was not the typical Cruise. He wore a gray suit and had silver hair. He coerces a cab driver into taking him around Los Angeles, and the entire film is set in a single night. Cruise changed into an emotionless and intimidating person. People were astounded by his altered appearance and behavior. Then came 2005's War of the Worlds. During an alien invasion, Cruise portrayed a father attempting to save his children. For one of the scenarios, they used wreckage from an actual Boeing 747 that they purchased. Over the course of 73 days, filming was done in 5 states. It was Spielberg's longest shot in more than 10 years. Cruise even requested that Spielberg put another film on hold so that they could start with this one. Everyone was taken aback by Cruise's performance in Tropic Thunder, 2008. He was in it, but no one knew. He was a loud, bald, heavy-set Hollywood executive who danced like a crazy person. Cruise came up with the character on her own. In order to dance, he requested fat hands. He wasn't even featured in the trailers. And some were shocked to learn that it was him. It demonstrated that Cruise wasn't scared to take chances or look foolish. Cruise scaled the Burj Khalifa as part of Ghost Protocol, a Mission Impossible movie, in 2011. He dangled more than 2,000 feet. In order to install safety equipment, they had to drill holes in the structure and smash windows. His legs were numb because his harness was so tight. Due to flight regulations, helicopters had just 30 minutes to film, and they employed specialized IMAX cameras. Like always, he declined to stunt double. Cruise used actual Pittsburgh streets for all of the automobile chase scenes in Jack Reacher, 2012. He prepared for months, learning fierce hand-to-hand combat. Due to a sniper strike at the beginning of the film, its distribution was postponed following the Sandy Hook massacre. The release of Cruise's gritty military investigator in December 2012, however, seemed genuine and unvarnished. Then Rogue Nation's riskiest flight stunt of 2015 took place. As it lifted off, Cruise managed to hang onto an actual Airbus A400M. 5 G-forces struck him while he was 5,000 feet in the air. The plane had to take off 8 times in 48 hours, and the crew had to get it perfect. Cruise grabbed onto paratrooper panels as he rushed over the wing. In order to maintain realism, he wore virtually little protection gear. For The Mummies, Cruise recorded a zero-gravity plane crash in 2017. To generate weightlessness, he flew in a unique aircraft that rose to 25,000 feet and then descended. Almost little computer graphics were used in the filming process. To get it right, Cruise and the crew had to do several flights with only a few minutes of zero gravity each time. It was among the most difficult scenes ever shot in the air. Cruise fractured his ankle in 2018 while jumping across rooftops in London while filming Mission Impossible: Fallout. Still, he finished the scene. Even his limp is visible. 6 months were taken off from filming to allow him to recover, but he came back and performed even more feats. Scenes where he could sit and rest his ankle were filmed during the interval. His commitment made a genuine injury a part of the narrative. Ultimately, Cruise's greatest hit in 2022 was Top Gun: Maverick. After completing rigorous pilot training, he began flying actual F-18 fighter jets. He subjected all of the young performers to the same ordeal. The cockpits were equipped with specially designed IMAX cameras. During the pandemic, Cruise rejected every streaming offer because he preferred to see the film in cinemas. Despite a 3-year delay, it generated around $1.5 billion and turned into 2022's second-highest movie. It demonstrated Tom Cruise's willingness to take on challenging tasks in real life, even after all these years. When Tom Cruise married Mimi Rogers in 1987, he was just 24 years old. She was a Scientologist and an actor already. Tom was exposed to the faith that would influence nearly every aspect of his future through her. Their relationship appeared solid at first, but it wasn't working out behind closed doors. Tom was rumored to be unable to conceive. Mimi made a joke about it in a 1993 interview with Playboy, implying that he was considering becoming a monk. People were left speculating after that comment. In 1990, they divorced. Mimi then stated that Tom's obsession with his job was the reason. His life was centered around two words: career first. His inability to slow down caused them to become estranged. She added that they were separated by a wall caused by his growing commitment in Scientology. After that, while filming Days of Thunder, Tom got to know Nicole Kidman. 1990 saw their marriage. Although everyone believed they were the ideal pair, they were concealing anguish from the public. When Nicole was 23, she experienced her first miscarriage. Because the pregnancy was ectopic, the baby was developing within the woman in the incorrect location. She later stated that there isn't enough discussion regarding the sadness caused by that loss. They then adopted Isabella and Connor, 2 children. But Nicole experienced a second miscarriage in March 2001, shortly after Tom filed for divorce. She was expecting a child, 3 months along. A public split was occurring concurrently with a private heartbreak. The divorce, the loss, and the quiet around it all added to its weight. Tom and Penelope Cruz began dating after the breakup. She spent 3 years with him as his co-star in Vanilla Sky. In an attempt to get closer to him, she even began studying Scientology. However, it failed. Penelope was a devout Buddhist who was unwilling to abandon it. She was disliked by David Miscavige and other Scientology leaders. One ex-member asserted that obedience to the church is equally as important as loving Tom. Following their 2004 split, there were reports that Scientology had begun holding auditions to find Tom a new wife. The church denied it. However, the thought persisted. Then Katie Holmes appeared. Declaring his love for Oprah, Tom leaped upon her couch in 2005. It had a sweet yet crazy vibe. Their daughter Suri was born in 2006, the same year they were married in a castle in Italy. It was Katie's dream to marry Tom, she used to remark. He was referred to be the man of her dreams. However, by 2012, the dream had given way to terror. Katie requested full custody of Suri when she filed for divorce. Tom was totally taken aback. He didn't anticipate it. They swiftly and silently resolved the matter. Katie wanted Suri to stay away from Scientology. Both sides were unable to cross that line. Despite their agreement to respect one another's ideas, the harm had already been done. Tom hasn't been spotted with Suri since. 2012 saw the final public appearance at Disneyland. She was moreover 10 years old, yet just 6. She graduated from high school in 2024, but Tom was nowhere to be seen. He was spotted in London that same day, taking in a Taylor Swift performance. People found it hard to believe. The disconnection rule of the church, according to former Scientologists, is to blame for this. You break off contact with someone who withdraws from the faith. Suri was shielded from the church by Katie, and Tom put his convictions ahead of his role as a father. Now that she is 18, Suri is free to make her own. But their friendship seemed to have fractured after all these years. When Tom attacked Brooke Shields for using antidepressants after giving birth in 2005, it also created a media frenzy. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance, he replied, accusing her of taking medicine. People should just take vitamins and exercise, he remarked. In response, Brooke published a stirring article in the New York Times. She advised him to focus on defending the planet from extraterrestrials and let experts handle mental health issues. He had no concept what postpartum depression felt like, she made plain. Tom later expressed regret, but Brooke felt that it wasn't a very strong apology. That was the best he could manage. After being introduced to Scientology by Mimi Rogers in 1986, Tom developed a strong bond with the organization. He initially kept it a secret. However, in a 1992 interview with Barbara Walters, he acknowledged everything when it was leaked by the media in 1990. He said that his dyslexia was overcome by the religion. He rose to prominence in Scientology over time. He and David Miscavige became close. with whom he had been living since the late 1980s. Tom briefly withdrew, however, when he was informed that the religion would divulge information about an extraterrestrial king named Xenu. In 1999, while he was filming Eyes Wide Shut, Marty Rathbun was sent to bring him back into the fold. Even Tom's admirers were astonished when a video of him discussing Scientology was posted online in 2008. He asserted that the only true mental professionals who could assist in an automobile accident were Scientologists. Millions of people watched the video despite the church's best efforts to remove it. He spoke in a peculiar and focused manner. It didn't feel like the real Tom anymore, according to several people. The HBO documentary Going Clear, which aired in 2015, escalated the situation. High-ranking former Scientologists voiced their opinions. They said that Tom was able to date women thanks to the religion. One said that after Nicole Kidman was called a troublemaker, she was wiretapped. The church's efforts to locate Tom a partner were characterized by another as white slavery. They also said that because Kidman prevented Tom from joining Scientology for years, the church used one of his own staff members to spy on him. A rather bleak picture was presented by these tales. It became even more intimate in 2001. When a man in an adult film said that he had an affair with Tom, it led to Tom and Nicole's divorce. He was sued by Tom for $100 million. Tom was awarded $10 million when the man acknowledged lying. Tom had to combat unfounded allegations about his sexual orientation before. In the past, he had successfully sued a publisher for a similar narrative. A former church official made a troubling revelation about the same time. Secret video recordings of Tom's confidential confessions during auditing sessions were made between July and November 2001. Although the church stated that it was done to assess the quality of the session, David Miscavige received every word. Before becoming overly connected once more, they even waited until Tom and Nicole's divorce was finalized. What was to have been private therapy was surreptitiously seen. The rising worries about the church's treatment of even its most well-known members were exacerbated by that betrayal. Mitch Brisker, another former Scientology executive, made news in late 2023. Claimed that the most common victim of the church was Tom Cruise. He said that everything, including the soap on their cruise ship, was under Miscavige's supervision. Brisker claimed Tom was not at liberty. He was totally in control. Leah Remini, who departed in 2013, claimed that anyone who voiced criticism of Tom within the church faced severe penalties. Some supported her. The church insisted that these individuals were all lying and denied everything. Fans began to notice another issue in February 2025. When Tom made an appearance in a Super Bowl commercial, viewers observed that his face appeared stretched and swollen. He appeared normal in a Mission Impossible trailer that was released just 10 minutes prior. The form of his face appeared to have been altered by an excessive amount of fillers, according to a plastic surgeon. His formerly angular jawline has softened. This type of skin stretching and swelling, according to the doctor, is typically caused by an excess of injected filler. By May 2025, Tom described how he was exerting a lot of physical effort on the task. Unachievable feats. I eat almost a dozen eggs every morning along with bacon, sausage, toast, and coffee, he told People magazine. Merely to give his body energy. At 120 miles per hour, flying on top of a biplane burns a lot of calories, he remarked. It outperformed early wing-walking aircraft by a factor of 3. To keep alive up there, he required calories and protein. Jonathan Ross, a British host, said something nasty in July 2025. He made a comparison between Tom's face and Play-Doh on his podcast. According to him, Tom used to be a naturally attractive man but now appeared phony. He claimed that he no longer looked like himself, without labeling him ugly. When fans concurred, emotions erupted online. At last, in August, Tom revealed himself. He claimed in an interview that the crazy plane antics nearly caused his back to break. He had to hang from a seatbelt in one moment as the plane overturned. The joints of his fingers were separated by the pressure. He had enlarged hands. The agony was genuine. Tom had endured a great deal, according to his director. The weather even forced them to reshoot certain scenes in Africa. Some of his changes in appearance may be explained by the swelling and injuries, but for many supporters, it was too late. The Tom they remembered no longer had the same face.